Hi, everybody. This is one segment of a 1 hour and 7 minute interview I conducted with Dr. Jennifer Tran, who is the Congressional 12th District candidate in Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area, and also a major player in the Vietnamese community in Oakland. And also a great interview. It's an epic interview. But here she talks about and gives details about what she did in working for Sheng Thao. She said she wasn't a campaign consultant, so the question is, well, what exactly did she do? Well, let's listen.
And then but let's talk about the true crime here, the larger crime that we're seeing around us that folks are.
I want you to talk to me like we're friends.
Yeah.
Take your spiel off, because because we and I talked a bit ago, like the whole thing with Shang. You gave me a short, angry, straight on, concise, real story. And so I'm going to ask you right here, why don't you tell the viewers what you told me regarding how the court documents associate you as a campaign consultant for Sheng Thao when she was council member? Please.
Thanks, Denny. It's because folks weren't there. And so I was just trying to walk them through. But you're right in terms of, one, people's attention span and, the heart of the matter. And from I think it was within 24 hours of the FBI raid, some of the news started covering me as Sheng Thao's campaign consultant.
Yeah.
And in my press conference.
That way with the 2020 court documents, so they saw that.
Yeah.
Zeroed in on it. So
and actually, that's the reason why I reached out to you to clarify, right, Zenny? It's like, hey, Zenny, this is Jen Tran. And
folks out not paying me, although I'd love for her to pay me anyway, but hope she's not. Isn't that?
No. Yeah, just to clarify, again, there's no transaction here. But I didn't even realize that I was being listed as a campaign consultant. I met Sheng when she ran for city council in District 4 and said, you want to be a part of something great, something positive. And I always loved to support women of color. And so I started working on her campaign in the beginning for 3 weeks. And then I realized that this is not the person for me, not for Oakland, her leadership.
Something happened that made you just go, and run? Or was it just more like...
It was the spirit of the leadership, in terms of vindictive.
Okay. I gotta ask you to drill down on that. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, any person who does any work in this city, unfortunately, that's the word that they use to describe our mayor. It's vindictive, in terms of having a list of people who are not blind loyalists to her, and there will be consequences, and when she ran for mayor. But anyway, so backing up, I realized that wasn't going to be
Godfather level, don't you think?
Come again?
That's like Godfather level, don't you think?
What is?
Like I have this list of people I'm gonna basically list.
Well, that's what scared me. That's what scared me, and actually said that I have a blacklist of folks who, if they ever cross me, I got dirt on them, and I can work the media to get them, and I was like, that's dark. That's dark.
And Shang specifically said this to you.
She's in a group meeting.
In a group meeting? There's like more than one person who heard her say that.
I mean, there's a couple people, but it wasn't just me and her. It's just like, so it made me feel like you gotta watch your back, because you don't know who's watching, right? And I was like, is this service? Is this service if someone who is a leader is going to has this narrow lens of personal relationships? And that made me think, okay, so if you don't have any purpose for her, then what will she do? And if you're of value of her, then what do you have to do? And so it took me less than 3 weeks to experience that, and that left it was distasteful for me. And so for media to now continue to call me former campaign consultant for her really doesn't do it justice, my experience working with her, And
oh, and by the way, tell them what you were doing for the campaign, because that's the other thing that struck me. It wasn't like,
it wasn't like I was a strategist. Yeah, I wasn't a strategist. I wasn't the campaign manager. I was just supporting, going to meet and greets. I was going to I was tabling and what can you really do the first few weeks of a meeting, right? Of a campaign. You're just everyone's touching everything and working on bios and policies. And so but like I was definitely not this political operative for her. I wasn't her right hand person, but I was an Oaklander. And that had value. And also I was a community leader, and I wanted to see again women of color succeed. But it was just made me think that this was became quickly about power and service.
What did she say, if anything, to you when you, how did you announce that you weren't going to be a part of it?
I think I sat on it and I wrote an email, and then it was an amicable parting, in terms I said, this isn't going to work, and just thank you for your support. And because I didn't feel comfortable telling her the why, and because of what I heard, and that should be understandable. And I have to say that to this day, I find her to be an extremely charismatic person, and her story is extremely compelling. Where she came from and how she worked hard to get to where she's at, and it's really a true American story. And so I admire her fight, but I think she gets confused with who she's fighting with, and who's her enemy, and who's for her. And in this work, anyone is for the community is for each other, right? Anyone who, and also being for the community, being for Oakland, there's a humility that it requires. It requires us to be able to disagree and not hold a grudge. It requires us to be able to provide input and actually hopefully see that input being considered in the final decision, right? Not just a checkbox like community engagement. And that's what I've experienced with some of our leaders, is that I appreciate folks coming to our community, but I feel like it's part of a larger chessboard of, I have to do this so I can protect myself here, and this is going to serve me down the road. But they already have their political agenda, and their agenda is to win. Their agenda is their next seat.
Yeah.
Their agenda is, to protect their image. And I have to say, like, this press conference, it was already intimidating enough to go by myself in front of the local. Obviously,
There's more, folks. As I said at the onset, this is a 1 hour and 7-minute interview. There's a lot more, including a section about the donations that were mentioned in the original investigative report. We even have Dan Cal making his comments on it from September 26th of 2020. But the bottom line of this video is that as Councilmember, Mayor Thao had a hit list. And I have heard she carried that hit list into the mayor's office. Who's on it? Good question. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube. Bookmark Zenny62blog.com and ZennyReport.com. That ends this video.